That rifle collecting dust on a table today, 5 years out, somebody turns one down for less than your truck note. I have honestly lost count of how many times I have watched a guy walk an entire gun show, every single table, every single dealer in the room, talk to all of them, and he goes home with nothing. He knew exactly what he was after. The rifle just was not there, and nobody was hiding it from him. That is the thing. It is not a supply chain hiccup. It is not bad timing. It is not going back next month and trying again. Runs got cut. Reorders stopped. The used market inventory that was floating around out there got absorbed quietly, one transfer at a time, until there was nothing left to absorb. What is left now gets priced accordingly, and that number is not going back down, not on these guns. So here's what this video is. 8 rifles that are sitting in exactly that spot are going into 2026. Bolt guns, semi-autos, and some imports, where the legal walls have been standing long enough that the supply situation is not temporary anymore. It is just the reality now. These are guns where waiting does not save you money. Waiting costs you money, not in some vague theoretical way. The actual asking price on a clean example moves up month after month, and the clean examples are getting harder to find in the first place. If you have been sitting on any of these, telling yourself you will pull the trigger when the timing is right, this video is going to change how you think about that. Watch it all the way through. And if this is the kind of content you want to see more of, hit subscribe because this is what we do here. Number 8. Ruger Scout Rifle. Passed on it at retail, now they cannot find one used at any price. When these were sitting on dealer shelves at normal retail, most buyers walked right past them, did not register. Now those same guys are hunting the secondary market and coming up empty, or paying significantly more than they expected to. Ruger built this off Jeff Cooper's Scout concept. The whole idea was a .308 bolt gun that stays short, handles in tight spaces, is optically mounted forward, and folds up. Ready to work straight out of the box without dropping money on upgrades first. Production runs were small, and dealers never kept deep stock because nothing was screaming at them either. Now that people are figuring out what this rifle actually does, the supply of used rifles is basically dried up. Clean ones are moving 900 to 1,100, and that number is not coming back down. Current market value, approximately $900 to $1,100. Pros: solid .308 chambering that performs in the field. Forward optic position is genuinely useful in a brush. Comes ready to run without upgrades. Cons: locked into a single chamber. Aftermarket support is thin. Used examples vary widely in condition. Number 7. Remington 700 Police. Departments ran this thing for 40 years before the civilian market started paying attention. Before Remington went through bankruptcy, this was a working rifle, not a collector's piece. Departments ran these in their precision programs because of the cold hammer forged barrel, properly tuned factory trigger, and HS precision stock added up to something that held its own against custom work at a fraction of the price. When Remington restructured, those dedicated runs stopped. Guns already out there got absorbed by the agencies holding them. Civilian supply dried up and has not come back. Current market value, approximately $1,100 to $1,400. Pros: action is genuinely well built. The factory trigger was set up properly. No nonsense engineering built to work. Clean estate examples still make financial sense. Deep 700 platform aftermarket. Cons: parts availability post-bankruptcy is a real concern. Ergonomics show their age next to modern chassis setups. Specialized variants are harder to source components for. Number 6. Mossberg 800. Nobody preserved these. Clean ones are getting real attention now. Most of you have probably never had one in your hands, and that is exactly the point. Mossberg built these as working bolt guns in the late 60s, chambered in .308 Winchester and .30-06. Cheap on purpose. No frills. Because of that, they got used to hard and were stored badly. A lot of what is circulating is rough, unmaintained bores, damaged stocks, and finished largely gone. Finding a clean one takes patience. Gun shows and estate sales mostly. A genuinely clean example today is around $700 to $900, and collector interest is starting to show up in the pricing in a way it was not a few years back. Current market value, approximately $700 to $900. Pros: honest bolt action design. 308 and 3006 cover real-world use. Well-preserved examples are still undervalued. Cons: most examples are in rough shape. No aftermarket to speak of. Replacement parts are not easy to locate. Number 5. Winchester Model 70 Classic. The factory closed in 2006. What exists right now is the entire supply, specifically the New Haven production before 2006, with the controlled round feed action. If you follow bolt guns, you know why that matters. The reputation came from field use over decades, not marketing. Controlled round feed handled real conditions. Caliber range went from 223 out to 4.58 Win Mag, built to take punishment. Winchester shut the New Haven facility in 2006, and it never reopened. No domestic production coming back. The pool of American-made Model 70 classics that exists right now is a closed set. Whatever feels expensive today is probably just where the floor sits permanently. Current market value: approximately $1,200 to $1,600. Pros: controlled round feed is the real thing. Caliber spread covers every legitimate use case, built to absorb hard use. Cons: price point makes people treat them like collectibles instead of tools. Pre-64 confusion muddies the market for new buyers. Number 4. Steyr AUG A1. The military adopted it in 1977. Import restrictions handled the supply problem for collectors. Austria adopted the AUG in 1977 when most militaries were still on conventional layout rifles without much debate about it. The bullpup got a full-length barrel into a noticeably shorter overall package. Optic is built into the receiver, not bolted on. Polymer construction was still the default everywhere when steel and wood were still the default. Deliberate engineering decision, not chasing a trend. The A1 with the fixed integrated optic is what collectors are actually after. Import restrictions have kept legitimate Austrian-made examples out of the American market for years. A clean A1 with the original optic intact is genuinely difficult to locate. Current market value approximately $1,500 to $2,200. Pros: full barrel length and a compact package. Integrated optics makes it a legitimate collectible, handles differently than anything else. Cons: the bullpup manual of arms takes adjustment. Fixed optic limits magnification options. Fakes and clones are common enough to require caution. Number 3. FNFAL. More than 90 armies ran this. Legally importing one today is basically not happening. The right arm of the free world nickname was not invented by a marketing department. Over 90 countries issued this rifle across 3 decades of Cold War conflict. The 7.62 by 51 mm NATO chamber, the reliability record across multiple continents, and the sheer scale of deployment it earned through actual use under bad conditions. The civilian semi-automatic pipeline into the US shut down effectively years ago. Parts kits are thinning. People sitting on verified examples are holding them. Current market value: approximately $2,000 to $3,500. Pros: proven reliability across decades of real conflict. Matching numbers imports carry provenance no clone can replicate. Cons: heavy rifle with an expensive caliber. Tracking down genuine matching imports is largely unrealistic. Parts availability is declining. Number 2. H&K G3. Cold War rifle, German build quality, hard import wall. Already sitting in a different tier. I think over the next decade, this one ends up being the hardest on this list to actually locate. The roller delayed blowback system produces a cycling feel that gas-operated rifles do not replicate. Chambered in 7.62 by 51 mm NATO, deployed across militaries in Europe, Asia, and elsewhere for decades. The build quality is something you have to put your hands on. It does not translate to a spec sheet. Genuine H&K manufactured semi-automatic imports have become rare in a real way. The market gets flooded with clone builds and converted contract rifles, which are not the same thing. Verified H&K stamped semi-auto G. 3 variants are sitting at $2,500 to $4,000 at this point. Cold War provenance, German manufacturing, and an import wall that is not opening up have put these in a separate category, a confirmed original surfaces, and it sells immediately, usually above whatever the last one went for. Current market value, approximately $2,500 to $4,000. Pros: roller delayed systems are a genuinely different mechanical experience. German manufacturing standards are felt every time the action moves. Cold War provenance carries real collector weight. Cons: heavy with an expensive caliber habit. The clone market is saturated enough to trap inexperienced buyers. Parts for genuine H and K variants are increasingly hard to source. Number 1. AR-10. Everything in the AR family traces back to this. Well-built originals are getting genuinely hard to find. And before anyone starts in the comments, yes, I know AR-10 pattern rifles are still being built. That is not the point. This is about quality, and what the market does when quality becomes the scarce thing. Eugene Stoner developed this at Armalite in the 1950s before the M16. Before the AR-15 changed how Americans think about rifles entirely. What came out of that work became the design foundation from which every AR platform afterward was built. Chambered in .308 Winchester or 6.5 Creedmoor, a properly built AR-10 handles serious power inside a modular setup you can reconfigure without starting over. The problem is finding builds that actually meet that standard. Current market value, approximately $1,800 to $2,800. Pros: 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor in a modular platform is a real advantage. Collectors and shooters are competing for the same shrinking pool of quality examples. Pricing keeps moving up because both sides know it. Cons: the quality of the floor and AR-10 builds varies wildly. Sorting good from mediocre requires hands-on experience, heavier and more expensive to feed than the AR-15 pattern. The door is open right now. It has been for a while. Nobody knows which day it will be. Alright, that covers all 8. If you followed the whole thing, you probably noticed the same thread running through all of it. Age alone does not make something valuable, and brand name does not either. What actually drives it is solid engineering hitting a wall, shuttered factory, import restrictions, a manufacturer that stopped running those numbers, and the market working with whatever is already out there. The rifles that end up worth real money are rarely the ones dominating the conversation at any given moment. FALs and G3s sat ignored in corners of shows for years, while everyone chased newer stuff. The guys who picked them up back then are not selling. That same thing is happening right now with this list, just earlier in the process. If you are holding one of these, take a real look at what you have got. If you have been putting it off, just know the secondary market moves on its own schedule. These exit circulation and do not come back. Drop a comment telling me what you own from this list or which one you passed on and regret. I read every comment. If I miss something, say so. Subscribe and stick around. The next video is already being put together. See you then. See